Uda is a jobless clown who likes expressing all of his emotions until he meets a cold-hearted girl, and he makes it his life mission to make the girl feel warm emotions. It all begins with Kashiwata and Uda playing a card game called Old Maid, which revolves around the display of emotions, just like all card games. Kashiwata remains cold while staring at her cards, while Uda is busy tweaking like a damaged umbrella. Uda turns out to be a loudmouthed chicken who boasts to Kashiwata, telling her that he will ultimately defeat her in the card game, just to prove that he is a chill dude. He picks his card and waits for Kashiwata to point to the right card, while trying his best not to show emotions. However, Kashiwata ultimately crushes his baby ego by picking the right card and winning the game. Uda smashes his head into the table in frustration, but because he is a stubborn goat, he demands that they play one more round. Uda is prepared to show who is the boss in the new round, but just like before, the game ends in his defeat. Uda takes a minute to think about his defeat before demanding another round of the game. His classmate, Sada, tries telling him to put the fries in the bag, but he is too stubborn to listen. Uda is confident that he finally knows how he is going to defeat Kashiwata in the card game. Kashiwata shuffles the cards and distributes them, while Uda is busy watching all of her body movements. When it is time for Uda to pull a card, he pulls the Joker card, expecting her to at least twitch, but Kashiwata remains expressionless as ever. Deep down, she is actually relieved that Uda didn't pull the winning card. At this point, Uda is convinced that Kashiwata is using some sort of mystical powers. He tries getting her to show emotions, but he fails, and in the end, Kashiwata wins again, ultimately defeating the baboon head 3 times in a row. Later on, Kashiwata is walking through the school lobby when a spider suddenly falls on her face. Kashiwata comes to a stop and simply reveals that the spider startled her, but her facial expression doesn't say anything. It turns out that the spider was Uda's handiwork, just to get an expression from Kashiwata, but his plan fails. Uda, contesting for the most persistent man on the planet, tells Kashiwata that he will definitely try again another time. Not long after this, Kashiwata is minding her business, strolling through the school, when Uda appears like a failed Halloween project, trying to startle Kashiwata. Deep down, Kashiwata is surprised, but there is no expression of this on her face, which makes Uda's struggle yet another failure. Uda tries again in class by blowing a loud whistle behind Kashiwata's ear, but she remains motionless and expressionless like a statue. Uda cannot believe his eyes when he sees this, but he continues with his make Kashiwata show expression plan. Kashiwata is about to enter the classroom when she is hit with stickers, telling her to be more expressive. Even though the stickers almost flew into her eyes to blind her, she didn't even blink.
Come on, man!
Uda, at this point, believes that he graduated from the school of failure with honors. Frustrated about failing over and over again, he asks his friend, Sada, what he can do to make Kashiwata have expressions. Sada advises him to let it go because no matter what he does, there is no indication that Kashiwata will ever be expressive. Sada then asks him why he is particular about getting Kashiwata to express himself, and the moment Uda hears this, he figures out that it is story time. He narrates that it all started back at the school opening ceremony. Before he continues his dumb and boring story, Sada asks if he can go to the bathroom, but Uda screams at him to stay back and hear him. Uda reveals that the first time he met Kashiwata was on the day of the opening ceremony, when the cherry blossoms were in their prime. As the dumb and pushover dude that he is, he got attacked by a crow without any pre-existing provocation. While struggling with the crow, the bird lets its droppings on his well-ironed and neat uniform, causing him to scream at the crow. The crow enjoyed his pain and tried to get more by letting off more droppings on him, but he managed to dodge it the second time. Uda was busy cursing out the annoying discount eagle when he noticed that it actually let off its corroded intestine droppings on Kashiwata's head. Uda cannot believe that someone who got hit worse than him isn't moving or showing any emotions to it. Instead of saying anything or starting to whine about the trash on her head, Kashiwata just ignores it and continues on her way to school. This piques Uda's interest in her, and he decides to follow her like a baby stalker. In the course of following her was when he found out that they were in the same class, too. This only made things easier for him because ever since, he has been looking for a way to make her show expressions, but he hasn't succeeded even once. After Sada and his other friend are done hearing his dumbass story, they call Uta the biggest airhead for trying to chase after a crow. Uta screams at the two, telling them that the biggest takeaway in his story that the two uninterested chickens obviously miss is that Kashiwada annoys him. Later on, Kashiwada brings out her lunch in class to eat, but Uta is solely focused on everything that she is doing. Kashiwada grabs her bottle and starts to gulp the contents, but Uta immediately starts laughing at Kashiwada for falling into his trap. Uta reveals that he swapped the tea in the bottle with vinegar, and with this, he expects Kashiwada to show a bit of emotion as she drinks the sour vinegar. However, Uta is in for a big surprise because Kashiwada maintains her normal expression when she is supposed to be screaming her lungs out. This leaves Uta confused, and he walks to his table to drink from his own bottle. The moment he does this, he ends up spilling everything that he drank because it is vinegar. While coughing like an infected pig, he turns around to see if Kashiwada is laughing, but she is just her normal self. Kashiwada then reveals that Uta smirked a little when he was staring at her bottle, and this is when she figured out that Uta is up to something. This is what gave him up, and she wasted no time swapping the bottles back. Uta almost loses his mind because Kashiwada is basically telling him that he is the most obvious and expressive person she has met. Uta's friends can clearly see that Uta has become the victim when he is supposed to be the predator. Uta is about to walk away in anger when Kashiwada slightly drags him back to tell him that she actually likes him for being expressive. Uta thinks this is pure sarcasm coming from Kashiwada, but she reveals that she is being serious. It soon turns into an awkward couple moment between them, leaving the other students to start wondering what the two have going on. While Uta is busy screaming in frustration, Kashiwada returns to her seat, and she seems to have let off a little smile, but Uta is too busy to notice. Shortly afterward, Uta calls a strategic meeting with his friends, all in the name of getting Kashiwada to be expressive. Uta reveals that the first thing he is going to do is to monitor Kashiwada all day because there is definitely going to be a moment when she changes expression. Because of how mysterious Kashiwada is, Sada and the third dude also say they are going to help Uta watch Kashiwada. The following day, Uta and his friends kick their plan into motion. They resume to class very early, but to their surprise, Kashiwada is already there. They stay by the door to keep themselves hidden from the mysterious girl. During the first period, Uta whips out binoculars just to monitor everything that Kashiwada is doing in class. In the second period, which is the physical exercise period, Uta remains hot on her tail. Uta almost nukes himself during the third period, which is a chemistry practical in the process of monitoring Kashiwada. Even in the fourth period, Uta makes sure that he doesn't give Kashiwada any breathing space while she is busy solving mathematics on the board. At the end of the day, Uta holds a meeting with his friends, and he reveals his frustration that Kashiwada's expression didn't change even once during the entire day. Sada, on the other hand, is able to gather useless statistics about how Kashiwada blinked 15 times in 1 minute. Uta thinks their entire plan is ruined until he learns that there is still a cleaning duty after school. He asks his friends where Kashiwada will be cleaning, and they tell him that she is in charge of the pool. Just as expected, the trio hides behind cover to watch Kashiwada carry out her cleaning duties, while hoping that she lets off any form of emotion. Momentarily, news reaches Kashiwada's cleaning mates that there is a raccoon in the area, and this causes them to all abandon their duties just so that they can see the raccoon. Even though Kashiwada is interested in seeing the raccoon, she has to maintain her cold personality. Kashiwada continues cleaning, and when Uta realizes that her cleaning mates are not coming back, he decides to enter the pool. He walks up to Kashiwada, looking like the least suspicious person. He tells Kashiwada that he has a treat for her, and he suddenly whips out the water hose he is hiding behind him. Uta is confident that he has Kashiwada in his grasp, but to his surprise, Kashiwada pulls an acrobatic move to dodge the water. He ends up spilling the water on himself, and as if this is not enough, his friends hit him with water guns. They even betray him by bringing a spare for his ops. Uta finds himself engaging in a water fight against 3 dudes. The 4 enjoy the moment of splashing themselves with water without even realizing it. One of their teachers soon shows up to ruin the moment, and he scolds them for running on a concrete surface, which is risky. After the boys are done getting scolded, they have no choice but to join Kashiwada in cleaning the pool. Kashiwada appreciates Uta's help, and she thanks him, But Uda tries to maintain his ego by telling Kashiwada not to thank him. Uda then stays on his tail throughout the entire cleaning service, forcing out a new level of frustration in him with every minute that goes by. Up next is the class physical session, and they engage in some swimming activities. During the boys' period, Uda dives into the water like a fish, and he comes out first, leaving the other students to watch his trail. Since he is done with his own session, Uda waits for Kashiwada's turn so he can see her expression. Momentarily, Kashiwada jumps into the water, and everyone expects a classic performance from her. But suddenly, they realize that she is motionless. They rush into the water to grab her, believing that she is drowning. However, she maintains her emotionless face while casually revealing that she was actually trying to swim like a bug. After the swimming session is over, the teacher tells Uda that he is putting him in charge of teaching Kashiwada how to swim for the girls' relay. Uda argues against this, asking why he should be the one teaching Kashiwada. The teacher then reveals that he is busy because he has to supervise the entire class. Before Uda can argue his case any further, the teacher leaves. Uda finds himself stuck with Kashiwada, but he refuses to teach her anything. Just then, Sada jumps into the water, assuring Kashiwada that he will teach her how to become a proper mermaid. Realizing that his friend is about to take Kashiwada from him, Uda immediately returns, telling Kashiwada that he is going to teach her. However, he deludes himself with the idea that he is going to hassle her during the training session. He holds her hands in the water while teaching her the stroking techniques to use. Uda's friends laugh at him because even with all of his complaints, he doesn't realize that he is already teaching her how to swim. Just then, Uda decides to mess with Kashiwada by letting her hand go, so he can see her panic while drowning. His intrusive thoughts take over, and he does just as he wanted. To his surprise, Kashiwada remains in the swimming position without any change in her expression. This leaves Uda utterly disappointed, and just when he thinks he can't have it worse, Kashiwada suddenly grabs his lower body because she is already drowning. He tries to get her off, but she holds on to his trunk while being dragged in the water. Uda barely manages to come out of the water without the entirety of his trunk coming off his body. However, the elastic has greatly loosened, and while he is complaining about this, Sada tells him that Kashiwada and the girls are about to engage in the girls' relay. Uda decides to watch her, and the moment the whistle goes off, Kashiwada joins the girls to jump into the water. Surprisingly, Kashiwada is able to swim better than before, even though it is still not fast enough. Uda stood like a proud mother bird as he watched Kashiwada display the skills that he had taught her. When his friends call his attention to how obvious it looks, he denies it and tries to leave so he can fix his trunks. Suddenly, he hears the scream for help, and when he turns around, it seems Kashiwada is already drowning. Uda doesn't hesitate before jumping into the water to save Kashiwada. He screams out frantically until Kashiwada replies that she is fine. However, he soon realizes that he is in trouble when his friends call his attention to his trunk that is floating behind him. Soon afterward, Uda resumes with his mission to try to scare Kashiwada and get her to react. He starts engaging in several scary acts, but Kashiwada remains strong. This continues until Uda is suddenly approached by another classmate, Tabuchi, who claims that Uda is bullying Kashiwada. It turns into a full-blown argument between the two, and Tabuchi angrily tells Uda that he will be at fault if Kashiwada decides not to come to school again. Uda has never dealt with Tabuchi before, but his friends let him know that Tabuchi is one of the worst because she doesn't joke with competition. Uda finally realizes that he has trouble following him around. Moments later, Uda finds Kashiwada walking out of the classroom, and he decides to scare her like a fake masquerade. But the moment he makes his move, Tabuchi appears behind him like a persistent ghost. Tabuchi assures Uda that she is always watching, even when he thinks she is not. Uda screams at her because he finally has a stalker on his hands. It turns out that Tabuchi is monitoring Uda more than she is actually monitoring Kashiwada. Tired of getting stalked, Uda decides to finally approach her, and he lets her know that he is aware of the fact that she is curious about Kashiwada. Tabuchi tries to deny this fact, saying she is just trying to make sure that Uda doesn't disturb Kashiwada. Uda doesn't believe this one bit, and he lets Tabuchi know that she is the most obvious person, but this leads to an argument between the two. Sada finally jumps in, asking Tabuchi why she is actually watching Kashiwada, because it is quite obvious. Tabuchi is taken by surprise by the question, and after a minute of trying to pull herself together, she reveals that she is watching her because she is a fan. The boys are shocked when she says this, and Tabuchi explains that she is always filled with joy whenever she watches Kashiwata do her thing. Tabuchi claims that she likes the way Kashiwata's expression changes every minute, but screams at Uda for being an insect who is always around Kashiwata, ultimately ruining her plans to get a good look at her. Tabuchi goes into total psycho mode, saying Uda needs permission from her if he wants to interact with Kashiwata, since she is the president of her fan club. The boys believe that she is saying trash, but she argues that she can read Kashiwata's expressions. She mentions that she is able to do this because of her daily observations on Kashiwata, and surprisingly, Tabuchi tells Uda that he lost the competition, when the dude doesn't even know that they are competing in the first place. Later on, Uda enters the classroom to find Kashiwata sitting in a corner, and while he is still trying to figure out what is going on, her supposed fan shows up to lend Kashiwata a hand from the corner where she is sitting. Kashiwata then tells Tabuchi that she heard everything about being her fan. Tabuchi almost bursts out in happiness, but she can't contain it, and she starts to freak out. This serves as the best spectacle for Uda as he starts making fun of Tabuchi. Tabuchi can no longer take the embarrassment, and she crashes to her knees in shame. And while Uda is still making fun of her, Kashiwata walks up to her, telling her that she doesn't need a fan but a friend. Tabuchi's dashed hope immediately comes back to life with this single statement. Tabuchi gets on her feet and rushes to hug Kashiwata from behind while making fun of Uda that he doesn't have a defined relationship with Kashiwata. Suddenly, Kashiwata ruins the mood again by saying she is not really interested in being friends with Uda, but saying what she wants actually becomes a problem for her. Her face turns red while trying to look for the right words, but this only puts so much pressure on Uda and Tabuchi. Later on, they are having a discussion during lunch when Kashiwata hears Uda talking to his friends about how he never brings lunch to school and only relies on the snacks provided. The next day, Uda rushes out of class as usual, aiming to be the first person to reach the canteen so he can get his snacks. However, he runs into Kashiwata, who blocks his path as if she wants to tell him something. The two remain in this position until the rest of the class runs out of the classroom, and they beat Uda to the snacks vendor, leaving him snackless for the day. Because he missed his lunch, he remained on edge for the rest of the day. Not ready to let things go, he plans his revenge for the next day. The following day, Uda is about to run off to the canteen again when Kashiwata does the same thing as yesterday. Uda is planning his evasive measures when Kashiwata finally conquers her fear and whips out a lunch for him. She reveals that she made one yesterday, but was too nervous to give him. Uda doesn't take it too seriously until Sada shows up to take the lunch. He protects the lunch with his life, but when he returns to class, he is utterly disappointed that the lunch is nothing but 2 slices of apple. Uda cannot believe that Kashiwata has just made him lose lunch 2 days in a row. He decides to punish her by throwing a paper plane at her, but this fails. He starts walking around to see what he can use, and suddenly, he finds Kashiwata's hair tie lying around. Uda picks it up, and he stands by the window, threatening to let it go. However, the strong wind from the brewing rain takes the hair tie away from him. Uda falls into distraught when he sees Kashiwata crying. Uda immediately regrets his decision, and Tabuchi makes it hurtful by saying it was her grandmother who gave her the hair tie, which is probably an heirloom. Feeling the intense guilt, Uda runs out of the classroom, and he runs into the rain to try and find the hair tie. His friends later found him in the rain, and, pitying his status, they joined him in searching for the hair tie. After so much effort in the rain, they finally found the hair tie, but it was already dirty. Before taking it to Kashiwata, he buys another one to try and appease her. He heads to her house in the rain to give her the hair tie, and after giving it to her, he is shocked to see that she still has a grandmother. He asks why she was crying earlier, and she reveals that something flew into her eyes. Uda almost loses his head in embarrassment, and Kashiwata finishes him off when she assures him that she is going to treasure the hair tie he bought for her. Uda runs out of the house with a red face, trying to subdue his clear feelings for the girl. Meanwhile, Tabuchi is still in the rain, trying to find the hair tie. Thanks for watching till the end, and don't forget to stay tuned for future episodes.